Hey everybody, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. This is my monthly video on the best board game expansions coming to retail, coming to stores or online marketplaces near you. We've got some expansions for old games, we've got some expansions for brand new games. That's kind of how the way the hobby is working these days. You know, sometimes you get an expansion for a game from 20 years ago, and sometimes you get an expansion for a game that literally came out this month, and they just split the content into different boxes and released an expansion box at the same time the game came out. If you want to come see me live, I will be headlining the Mad Swede Brewery on May 30th and 31st in Boise, Idaho. So if you're in Boise, it's a cool town, and I'll be doing some comedy shows there, so please come out. You're always welcome to check out my website to see tour dates and stuff like that. So I hope you want some more for your board games, because that's what we're about to get into. I only have 9 expansions for you this month, but there's some good ones on this list. First up, Asmodee and Space Cowboys are releasing Splendor, The Sun Never Sets. This plays 2 to 4 players in 30 minutes, and it is, you know, a lighter weight game, but maybe on the upper end of lighter weight Splendor is. If you don't know Splendor, it is a, you know, almost classic game at this point. It's a really good, it's a game that got a lot of people into the board game hobby, including myself. It was certainly one of the earlier games I played. But you are getting these gems, using the gems to get cards. Those cards will do some engine building, so you can buy higher and higher value cards after that. And, you know, it really is a good introduction to engine building games. So this expansion, The Sun Never Sets, actually takes some of the content from a previous expansion, the Cities of Splendor, and it pulls out some of the modules from that expansion. It does have updated artwork, graphic design, and some rules tweaks. So it's not exactly the same, but it is a lot of the same content from that. This is adding 2 new modules, or, you know, 2 modules from the Cities of Splendor expansion, and putting them into Splendor. Those 2 modules are strongholds. Strongholds you can add out to cards on the in the play area. If you have 1 stronghold on it, that doesn't really do anything, but 2 strongholds on it, now you've reserved the card and nobody can take that card, nobody can buy that card, and 3 strongholds on the same card will allow you to buy it in a single turn that you also take another action. You can also spend a turn taking someone else's stronghold off of a card if they only have 1 on it. And so, you know, it's just a different way to reserve cards in the game. And then the other module in it is the Orient module. There are 3 new decks of cards. It adds more cards to the playing field, to the grid of cards out there. And it also, some of those cards have different special abilities, you know, just comboing with other things. So, you know, it's an expansion that adds more in terms of more stuff to buy, more stuff to go for, more stuff to add to your engine. Asmodee, in association with Days of Wonder, are releasing Heat Tunnel Vision. This plays 1 to 7 players in about 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game, but maybe a lighter medium weight game. This is an expansion to Heat Pedal to the Metal. This is actually the 2nd expansion, and if you have the previous expansion and this expansion, you can actually play the game with 8 players. This does a few things. It adds an extra player. I think the base game of Heat went up to 6 players, so this adds components for a 7th player. But it also introduces 2 new boards and 2 new racing tracks. Let me back up and say, if you don't know Heat, it's a really good racing game that combines some deck building, hand management, a little bit of push your luck, because you can get Heat cards in your hand and you might try to like push your luck and hit around these corners, even if you you don't know what you're drawing from your deck next, and it's a really fun racing game. It's a really good game out there, and a lot of people know it. This Tunnel Vision adds 2 new racing tracks. One racing track doesn't add a lot new. It adds a bunch of straightaways, so you can really hit your engine into top gear, and then it just has a few curves, whereas the other track adds a new thing with tunnels. When you are going through tunnels, you cannot discard cards from your hand. You're stuck with the cards in your hand, so you almost have to plan your hand, manage your hand before you get to the tunnel so that you can try to make it through the tunnel. It also adds new cards to the game that you can draft and have asymmetric decks. There's just a lot of cards that do different things for you. So if you want to explore that, you can. All right. Asmodee and Awaken Realms are releasing a number of expansions to their brand new game, Dragon Eclipse. Dragon Eclipse is a game that I talked about in my best games coming to retail, my best new games coming to retail. It just came out here in May. It is a 1 or 2 player game. If you are playing it 2 players, it is cooperative, and it has a campaign narrative element to it, but you are getting decks for different characters and then fighting in an arena battle type game against bad guys, against bad characters. The characters in it are called mistlings. And so we have the first of these expansions I'll talk about is Dragon Eclipse. Foray into the Shadow Realms. Plays 1 to 2 players. Like all of this stuff, it is a medium weight game and plays in 60 to 120 minutes. This Foray into the Shadow Realm brings 3 new scenarios to the game, so it adds about 10 hours of content and play time to your Dragon Eclipse experience. It also adds 6 brand new mistlings to the game, which each have unique abilities and special cards to challenge you. It also extends the roguelite mode by introducing a fresh map and a special set of cards that will allow you to use the mistlings from this add-on in the core box roguelike mode. And it has 200 new cards, 50 adventure journal pages, a bunch of... This is like one of those expansions that's just adding more stuff. It's not changing the gameplay, it's not adding new mechanisms, it's just adding more content and more time, experience to the game of Dragon Eclipse. Asmodee and Awaken Realms are also releasing Dragon Eclipse Untamed Arena. This actually takes the game from a 1 to 2 player game and increases it to a 3 to 4 player game if you want. It adds player versus player mode so that you can play in 1v1 duels or 2v2 duels. So instead of playing it cooperatively at 2 players, now you can sort of do an arena battle fighting against each other or doing teams and fighting against teams. The expansion also doubles all misling action cards, allowing for more deck building options as well as adding new arenas. So if you want to change up the way the game plays, then check out Dragon Eclipse Untamed Arena. Asmodee and Awaken Realms are also releasing Dragon Eclipse Terrains. This is a purely cosmetic expansion. Dragon Eclipse had a big, crowdfunding campaign, and when you back a crowdfunding campaign, you can often get extra stuff, blinged out things, make your game fancier, make your game nicer, more premium. If you didn't back the campaign, you can still get some of the premium components for your game of Dragon Eclipse if you want to. This Dragon Eclipse Terrains adds 41 detailed terrain miniatures to your game. So again, if you got the core box, just the retail core box, now you can get this and upgrade a lot of the components in the box to make it, to enhance the immersion, to make it feel more thematic, to make it feel more impressive, all of that stuff. There's a lot of variety of sculpts in the game. And then lastly, Asmodee and Awaken Realms are releasing Dragon Eclipse stretch goals box. So this is a lot of the stuff that was stretch goals on the, crowdfunding campaign, but now you can buy it as a standalone box, a separate box. I shouldn't really say standalone because, you need the base game of Dragon Eclipse to play this, so it is an expansion, but I just mean, like, you didn't have to have done the campaign to get all this extra stretch goal stuff. This introduces Perilous Seas, which are 2 new scenarios that expand the campaign. It's got, a bunch of things to investigate, new characters, new cards, all the different stuff from the campaign that you can get on your own if you want. And, just increases the narrative, adds 7 new mistlings. So a lot of stuff for Dragon Eclipse. Bitewing Games, one of the games I talked about from them during my May retail release video, was the game Ichor or Ichor. It's a new game from designer Reiner Knizia, a 2-player only abstract game. They're also releasing an expansion for that here this month, the month it came out, called Ichor Reinforcements and Gates expansion. The base game is a 2-player abstract game where you are moving characters along, and as far as you move them, then you place your colored tokens. If you go over one of your opponent's tokens, you get to remove it from the board, and you're trying to get all of your tokens out onto the board before your opponent does. In the game, one person plays as Greek gods and one plays as monsters, and you also have cards for the characters that you have that get you a special ability for that character, but you need to use it wisely because it's like a one-time per game ability. Well, this expansion, the reinforcements part of the expansion, is 4 additional gods and 4 additional monsters. So you have new characters that you can use in the game, and these characters boast advanced abilities. For instance, you can add another character to the board during the game, or you can pressure your opponent with an alternate victory condition. So, just advanced abilities. And then the other part of the name, the Gates expansion, is you can add a Gates module to your play, and that when one of your characters passes through a gate that's on a board, they trigger its power. So you can have those powers multiple times in a game rather than just a card and flipping it. Now, if you can get that character through a gate, you can trigger its power as well. So, if you want like a 30 to 40 minute abstract 2-player game, then it seems like a fun one for sure. Last Night Games is releasing Panda Royale expansion set. Panda Royale plays 2 to 10 players in about 20 to 30 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. It is a dice drafting, dice rolling game. There is a bag with a ton of different colors of dice and a ton of different types of dice. You'll have 6-sided dice and 8-sided dice and 20-sided dice. There's just a lot of different dice in there. Well, this expansion adds a few new types of dice to the game. And, all of the dice get you sort of special abilities in some ways. They score in different ways. They allow you to do different things. So it's light, but it's very fun because it has a ton of different dice in it. So the 3 new types of dice in the game with this expansion set, the Panda Support Team dice will allow you to re-roll a die. Wild Pandas can mimic any other color of die you have. Wise Sage Pandas are an ultimate pity die that can be earned late in the game for a big catch-up opportunity. So if you like dice drafting, if you like dice rolling, it's a very fun game, Panda Royale. And now you have a few new types of dice to this bag that has a ton of dice already. Roxley Games is releasing Santorini, Riddle of the Spinx. This plays 1 to 4 players in about 20 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but maybe on the upper end of lighter weight. Santorini is a great game that came out from Roxley, maybe about 10 years ago, and they actually just released a new edition of Santorini that I covered in my new editions video last month. So Santorini is a great two-player abstract game where you are building up buildings and then moving your characters and trying to get your characters to the top of a building before your opponent to win the game. And it's kind of like a chess-like, interesting, fun game, and it has a great table presence with building up all of this stuff. Well, the main game, Santorini, is a sort of head-to-head game, normally a two-player game where we are racing to accomplish something before the other player. Well, this Riddle of the Sphinx game turns it into a cooperative game, and I suppose you could call this I think this is like a standalone expansion where you can do a lot of the stuff. You know, I said that, and now I'm worried that I'm leading you astray with that. I don't know if it's standalone. It's an expansion, and I'm talking about it in my expansions video, but I don't know if it is actually standalone. But it does turn it cooperative. I know that. I am set on that fact. All right. So what it basically adds puzzles and scenarios to the game where now it'll give you like a starting setup for the board, and you need to build to a certain height in specific spots in a certain order, and if you do, you accomplish that you figure out that riddle, you accomplish that puzzle, you accomplish the objectives, and so then you kind of unlock the next level, and then there are harder and harder puzzles to unlock. And you know, there are gods where you need to use their abilities at the right time, and it'll help you solve the puzzle. And so there's a sequence that you're trying to figure out where you're like, if I build here and then I use that god power and that allows me to build over here, then you can move over here and do that, you know. And so it's just an interesting sort of tactical puzzle to solve. And you know, Santorini is such a great game, it's nice to be able to play it cooperatively instead of head-to-head if that's your thing that you like more. And so yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I like Santorini a lot, and I'm excited to try it in a cooperative manner. So those are 9 expansions that are coming to retail this month. So thanks so much for being here. As always, you can check out my Patreon, patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. I've got some fun perks over there, and I'll be back with my new editions video soon. So thanks so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. Hope you're having fun playing games out there.